When you're in the hands of Satan, you sometimes hear a voice in your head saying that something is not right. Today, I know this voice is the Holy Spirit. My name is Jose Antonio Carlon Cota, but my friends know me as Pepe. I work as a mechanic, fixing the trucks for a company that makes concrete. My life is a perfect example of a life restored by the mechanic of mechanics. Jesus Christ, through His grace, saved me, so I'm saved by grace. I grew up in an Adventist family, but in a way very conservative. I don't judge my father, I don't judge my grandma. I know that their intentions were good. But I began to create a wrong idea about what the Adventist church is. This eventually became a problem, and with time, what I did was leave the church. Without even noticing, I began to hang out with other teenagers that in my mind were able to understand me. I began to go to a couple of parties, to hang out with my friends, to drink a beer. Just in the beginning, it was like I had a beer in my hand so they could see me holding it, just to belong. All of a sudden, I began to like beer, cigarettes, marijuana, and after that, I began to use heavier drugs. I was always high from 18 to 25 years old, and after that, it was when things started to get out of hand. I wasn't drinking and getting high socially. I had become an addict. That type that can't stop, can't say no. Evil doesn't have a limit. There is no place that you can say that you hit rock bottom. Because I remember saying that I hit rock bottom 1, 2, 5 times, and it was always lower and lower. I became the worst person you could possibly imagine, without a doubt. And once I was there, I kept telling myself, I'm the worst, I'm despicable. There was a little voice that never left me alone. It kept saying, do you know what you're saying? You're bad, you're despicable. I remembered a Bible verse. Still high, I began to read the Bible. Today I understand it was the voice of the Holy Spirit. So I began to read the Bible desperately. I took the Bible as if it was a life vest. Like I was drowning and I was holding the Bible. Like this I began to read the Bible. Like it was the last opportunity, the last chance I had. I knew I was crazy. I knew that inside of me I was rotten. I knew that I'd gotten to a point of no return. But something kept saying, God came for the vile and despicable. Search for Him, search for Him. The first time I stepped into a church, after a while, I got to the church drunk, hungover, high, smelly. If you were at the church when I first got there, I had a baseball cap looking down. You could barely see my eyes. Because in my mind, I could not look at God. I couldn't. I kept looking at my feet. I thought I couldn't. Something was telling me I could not look at Jesus. I got to the church ashamed. When I got to the church, someone greeted me, I suppose, but I did not understand any English. And when I got in, someone took my arm, and I remembered I looked back and it was the only Hispanic person there. It makes no sense that there was a Hispanic person there. But he held my arm and said, "Are you looking for a Hispanic church?" And I said, "No, I just came to give my tithes." He took my phone and put in an address and told me they'll be waiting for you there. And I got to the church, and they had in front, when you walk in, literature for visitors or whoever. They had literature and the tithe envelopes. So I thought it was easy. I got the tithe envelope. But there's always something missing, always something that makes you have to talk to someone. I could not find a pen. Where's the pen? So I got a pen from a man named Ramiro. He said, "Welcome, come on in." Then he said, "Sit down." No, but I only came to give my tithe. There's no pen. He said, "Right now I'll get you a pen, but first sit down." So I sat down. So the first one I began to hear was Pastor Jonathan, who began to speak about God's grace. This brought to mind conflicts, emotions, memories, because I remember I could not even look up at that moment. But I don't know if he forgot about everyone else there. I believe he was touched by the Holy Spirit because he did what God does. When someone comes and searches for Jesus, he ignores everything around him and asks, "Who touched me?" He focused on me, and in this moment I felt the theme of grace, as if he was talking with me, as if God was telling me, "I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. And I was waiting for you. I've been searching for you. I don't know if you noticed, but I was always close to you. I've always been close to you. If you're here, it is because I brought you here. I set you down here. I have this message for you, and I never want you to be far from me again." In that moment, I felt as if he was talking to me, and as if no one else was around. It was though in the church it was just Jesus and me. And he was saying, "Do you know why I came to earth? I came to die for you." So then the next time I came to the church, there was participation in the rite of humility and the Holy Communion. I remember I got there and I looked at everything, and everything was familiar because I saw those things as a child. I said, "This is holy, I gotta go." So I wanted to leave the church. But the brothers were at the door blocking the doorway. I said, "Excuse me," but they said, sit down, it's all right." I did not want to participate, but the deacon was very persistent. He seemed like a nice guy, and he kept smiling at me, but he wouldn't move. So then I had to grab a small cup of the juice and the bread. Then I remember deep inside I told God, "I don't deserve it. You know that I don't deserve it." And then I remember telling God, "If you brought me here, it's because you know I don't want to do this because I don't feel I deserve it. But if you tell me to do it, I will do it." So I did the rite of humility and the Holy Communion, and immediately I wanted to leave running, but I remember Brother Joel told me, "Come to wash your feet." So I felt what Peter felt when he said, "Now I understand this part. How can you wash my feet? Explain to me if from everyone here in the church I'm the worst. How can someone wash my feet? Can you explain to me? I can't stand the idea." And I told him, "No, I can't, brother. It's too much for me. Come, my child, come. If Jesus was here, Jesus would do it for you." I could not understand, but I accepted God's love and God's forgiveness. A few weeks later, they had an evangelistic campaign. We set a date for my baptism. It was for a certain date, but one day before, I was driving with my mom. We had a major accident, but we left like nothing happened, my mom and I. I remembered I prayed and I said, "This is the moment for me to get baptized." I'm not an example to be followed, but I believe that my testimony can be useful. I don't wish for anyone to go through what I've been through, but if the grace of Jesus Christ could rescue me, I don't believe you're in a place so low as I was. So if God saved me, you can be saved by grace.